Hey guys, it's Hamza with another crypto video. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be about Ethereum versus Solana. These are two of the greatest blockchains of our time, and in 2025 we need to discuss the differences, the speed, DeFi and all of that. So hang on with me. Alright, so I want to discuss something with you guys. With Ethereum, it's been a long history. It's been one of the strongest blockchains for the past 8 years. Solana is a newer blockchain. It is faster, so let's discuss the speeds. All right, with Solana we got 65,000 transactions per second. That is amazing for any blockchain to have that kind of transactions. Now, is it gonna do 65,000 transactions per second today at this time? Of course it is, because we're talking about billions of dollars that is traded every single day. With Ethereum, they are capable of doing 1,000 transactions per second. Now, the average fees for Solana is close to $0. And when I say $0, it doesn't really cost $0. It costs about 0.001 Solana. With Solana's price being at 230 today, it would cost about 2 to 3 pennies. Now, if Solana goes up in price just like Ethereum, the fees will go up. But with Solana, it is always kept consistent with the price action with the validators, and I'll explain that to you later. All right, so with Ethereum, back 4 or 5 years ago when we used to trade meme coins strictly on Ethereum, fees used to cost up to $90 per transaction. Now they have helped it with proof of stake, and the whole network has become uncongested because of new blockchains, because of the Solana takeover, and plus they saved really a lot of money with the layering over the blockchain. So we're talking about $2 right now to maybe $10 per transaction. Now, they both have proof of stake, which Ethereum was proof of work, which you had to get a machine and mine it. Now it's proof of stake for both of them. Solana has proof of history as well. And Solana's time per transaction is 2 to 3 seconds versus 13 seconds with Ethereum. It could be a little bit faster or a little bit slower depending on the speed of the network. Okay, so if you want fast, cheap and instant, you would go with Solana. Obviously Ethereum is not bad, but compared to Solana, it's faster. All right, so let's talk about security and decentralization. All right, Ethereum, most battle tested, broad client diversity, and the strongest decentralization. That is true. Ethereum has been out now for 9 years, so I would say it has a good backing. Okay, and it has a lot of apps and coins to the Ethereum network. So if I was to go with the safer option, I would go Ethereum because it had the least amount of problems. I'm not saying that Solana does it, it's just a newer network, so it is more prone to these security attacks that maybe Ethereum faced in the past. Solana has big improvement. Past downtime centralization concerns are still noted. Now, a lot of people in the crypto world enjoy the decentralization of Bitcoin, that there's no banks backing it, that it's not centralized like BNB, for example. And Solana has the same problem, that it's more centralized than Ethereum. So a lot of people that are crypto maximalist with the decentralization will be like, well, I'd rather go with Ethereum, it's more decentralized. Now, when institutions care about governance, audibility, Ethereum's track record matters. And it's all about history and reputation. Ethereum has that reputation. Okay, now let's discuss mobile wallets. Most of the time right now, a lot of the wallets are supporting Solana. Okay, Phantom was one of the first wallets that supported Ethereum and Solana at the same time. It came out with Solana and then it brought Ethereum into the mix. MetaMask used to be just Ethereum based, and now MetaMask is known to have all the chains. So there's no problem with most of the wallets supporting Solana and Ethereum at the same times and bridging back and forth. So that shouldn't be a problem. They're both easy to use. It's all about the user experience, and Solana has a more user experience because it's a more newer blockchain, especially with Phantom. MetaMask is trying to improve with the user experience. They are catching up, although MetaMask has the best reputation. So it's back and forth with the Ethereum and MetaMask, Phantom Wallet, and Solana. It's just a newer versus reputation battle, really. And now Phantom bridges both worlds, one wallet, multi-chain. Same with MetaMask. So right now in 2025, you should not have a problem bridging back and forth. All right, now moving on to chapter 5 about ecosystem and apps. All right, so with Ethereum you got Uniswap, Aave, and OpenSea. All right, now Uniswap is the exchange, Aave is lending and borrowing, and that's huge for Ethereum, and OpenSea is for NFTs. And Ethereum right now got the biggest total value locked, and I'll show you in detail what that entails. Solana has Jupiter, which is an exchange specialized for the Solana network. Okay, Radium is another exchange that was launched before Jupiter, and then we got Magic Eden, which supports NFTs for Solana, and now it supports mostly everything. Okay, the retail flow NFTs and meme coins are all on Solana right now because they are the faster chain. They are the cheapest chain now in 2025. I cannot say for the future because everything is prone to change. So if you want deeper liquidity, you would use Ethereum. If you want faster consumer apps, you would use Solana. If you go to DeFi Llama, and this is what I wanted to discuss with you about, and this is huge to predict where we're gonna go in the future. If you see the Ethereum right here, the total value locked in Ethereum is $511 billion. That is $500 billion. That's huge for crypto, and that's huge for one coin to have that total value locked in one coin. It's amazing to me. This number used to be like 10% of that 4 or 5 years ago. This is why it's exciting to see where Solana is heading, because Solana right now has 44 billion total value locked. That is an amazing number. Why is that? Because it has room to grow. Ethereum has room to grow, because back in 2020, if you watched 3-4 years ago, the same DeFi Llama that I'm discussing in 2025 that I discussed in 2022 and 2021, I was shocked that Ethereum had total value locked of $44 billion or $40 billion. And now to see it 10x, it's a great step for crypto, for consumers, for retailers to see that the lending and the borrowing is growing at an exponential rate, right? So Solana is following the same steps. As you can see right here, that the 7-day total value locked for Solana has increased 17%. And this number will continue to grow over the years. We will have the same conversation 5 years from now where the total value locked for Solana will be Ethereum number, and then Ethereum will reach trillions of dollars. This is where we're going, because a lot of people are trusting to keep their money borrowing and lending on the Ethereum chain. And this is important because Ethereum is known for doing that. Okay, so chapter 6, we move on to who should use what. So if you want high frequency NFT and mobile experience with mobile network and trading real fast on the meme coin trading, you should definitely use Solana. It's cheaper, it's faster. But if you are a DAO, DeFi builder, or you're an institutional user that wants to invest in a safer, in the long term, like Bitcoin, it's just your money is safe, right? You would use Ethereum. Now, I'm not saying that because your money is not safe with Solana. It is, but we have to look at the reputation. The number one reputation right now in the market is Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has reached all-time high. It's just that history speaks for itself, right? So if you want to use, the final thing that I want to say about this, if you want to use this for transactions every day, I would use Solana. If you want just lending, borrowing, DeFi, just have your money sitting there and collecting your money, definitely Ethereum. Okay, we go on to chapter 7, which is exchange. Now, to exchange on Solana, you would use Jupiter. Super fast, super easy, transactions are low. You can use Phantom, but if you want lower fees, I would use Jupiter for sure. And if you want to exchange with Ethereum, you can use hundreds of thousands of exchange, but the number one exchange right now that's decentralized, because you know, if it's centralized, I would tell you Coinbase, of course, but I'm talking about decentralized right here. It would be Uniswap or Base Network, okay, for lower fees. Now, at the end of the day, it all depends on what fee, confirmation time, and user experience that you're comfortable with. Because if you're comfortable with Phantom and you don't mind paying the fee, by all means, use Phantom. All right, let's go to the chapter 8, which is risks and gotchas. All right, so Ethereum has user experience fragmentation across layer 2s. Layer 1 can be pricey. This has been a problem ever since Ethereum jumped from $100 to $4,000, all within the span of 2 years. Why is that? The network became congested and didn't account for that much transaction to go through the Ethereum network. When DeFi came out, when lending came out, when all that came out in Ethereum. So Ethereum jumped up in price, but it also jumped up in fees. So they had to use other solutions where layer 2 came, Arbitrum and Optimism and all this other stuff. So it was building on Ethereum, which helped Ethereum, but it was getting confusing with the user that was coming into the network. What do I use? Where do I go to? It was just very difficult. Now with Solana, the risk right here is congestion. Just like Ethereum, it can face some congestions because you got thousands and thousands of bots on the Solana network. When billions of dollars are used on meme coin trading, that means you're gonna have some downtime, some risk, sometimes even some fees go up with the meme coin trading, right? So the validator distribution debates here matters because the more Solana that is used, the more validators that needs to be put on the network. Now, every chain has its trade-offs. Before you use them, just know the risks. That's why we have in this video. So at the end of the day, I can talk all day about Ethereum is this and Solana is that. Let me just tell you the final verdict right here, right? If you're a high frequency trader, I would use Solana. If you're an institutional investor, I would use Ethereum. Why? Because their reputation matters here. NFT flipper, Solana is going to be the chain. There's no way that Ethereum is gonna keep going with the NFTs. Now, the OG NFTs, the official ones, those will be on the Ethereum network. If I'm coming out with a new project, an NFT project, I would definitely launch it on Solana. It's better for the user and it's better for me to collect more without having the fees back and forth. It does not make sense to spend 0.01 Ethereum to create some stuff. 0.1 Ethereum right now is $400. 0.01 Ethereum is now $40. So like it's expensive. 0.001 Solana is pennies. So who would you choose, right? DAO, DeFi is Ethereum. Why? Because there's so much money in Ethereum with the lending and borrowing. The fees might be more, but you're safe. You don't want that worry at the end of the day. First user, you would use Solana. Now, two of the greatest blockchains of our time for the next 10-20 years. Long-term prices, this is what you want to know. Solana will always be amazing in the long term. Ethereum will always be amazing in the long term. I always say that picture Bitcoin back in 2020, 2021 when it was $3,000, $4,000. That's how I think about Ethereum in 2025. It's $3,000, $4,000 and you know, in the next 5 years, it's gonna go to 50, 60, 70 and people did not believe that Bitcoin was gonna go to 100, but here we are at Bitcoin at $116,000 like it's nothing, right? So Solana, same thing, the next 4 or 5 years, you will see Solana at $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. All right, guys, that's it for my video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want more information, I'll put this information on my Telegram and join my school for these tutorial videos. Thank you so much and assalamu alaikum.